All right, everybody, welcome back. Good late morning or early afternoon for some of you, and we've got some more left guards to take a look at now. Three more guys to get through, and then three more later today, and we'll call it good at that point. So, first up is Delmar Glaze of Maryland, the Terrapins. Could not find his age. 6'4", 315 pounds, pretty standard for a left guard. Nice long arms, almost 35 inches, 10 and a quarter inch hands. So the measurables are nice. 5'2", 140 is okay. 178 10-yard split is passable. His vertical was really low, 25 and a half inches. His broad was okay. His bench press 29, pretty good. The big boards, wide range here. PFF has him going undrafted. ESPN has him in like the fifth. CBS has him in the early third. So pretty extreme swings here. The database has him in like the fifth or sixth round, which I think is pretty reasonable. Over the last 2 years, he's played good football for Maryland. He has allowed 7 sacks, but his overall PFF grade has been pretty good. And he's only allowed 2 quarterback hits combined over those 2 years and 23 hurries. So not as good as some of the guys we've looked at here, but I think a big reason why that is because Delmar Glaze played tackle at Maryland, and I think he will end up as a guard in the NFL. Now, one upshot to Delmar Glaze is that he might offer a little something as a swing tackle. He might be able to at least give you some reps at left or right tackle if you absolutely have to have it. But realistically, I think that his best work will come at guard. He uses his hands well, got good hand placement, moves well in space for zone scheme blocking. So even though he didn't test great, I do think his movement skills show up on the tape. He's got long arms, which, I mean, that's part of the reason why he might be able to hack it a little bit at the tackle position. And, I mean, long arms do help even when you're at guard. They help you wrangle up on run blocking plays. He uses his feet really well, got great footwork, expertly keeps his balance. So there's some stuff to like with Delmar Glaze, and there's a reason why CBS has him so high. Now, I do feel like he gets beat to the inside a lot, which is why I think moving him to guard would be beneficial, so he has less to think about when he's trying to protect against a speed rusher. And there are less speed rushers to deal with when you play inside. And he doesn't really have the ability to create holes in the run game. He's not somebody who's going to bull rush a nose tackle or a one tech or even a three tech out of the running lane. He's definitely a zone scheme guy, doesn't have the strength to do gap stuff. And just generally speaking, I feel like there's some consistency issues with him. He'll have good reps and bad reps. He's got to iron that part out in his game before he can become a starter in the NFL. And there's going to be development there. So I like the fact that he might be able to offer a little bit of depth at tackle, even if it's not very good depth. But there's going to be a learning curve for him. He's going to have to work on his consistency. He's probably going to have to pick up a little bit of functional strength in order to be able to handle the interior line duties. So I'm not really feeling it until about the 5th round. In the 5th round, you can take him and say, okay, we've got a functional left tackle, functional right tackle, hopefully a decent guard at some point, and we're just going to live with the fact that he probably won't be much for that first year. But lower upside here for me, not too terribly interested. Kind of feels like he's a little stuck between two positions. Okay, so the next guy, and this one's tough, Brandon Coleman of TCU, the Horned Frogs. Coleman's difficult to read because in the NFL, with his measurements, he's probably going to have to play guard. That's where he projects to, but he doesn't seem very comfortable doing it. 6'4.5", 313 pounds, 34 and 5/8 inch arms. So one thing about Coleman that we can say after the combine is he doesn't have super short arms, so maybe he can fail out at guard and move to tackle and do well. It's not out of the question because of how good his arm measurements were. 10 and 3/4 inch hands. He's got big hands. Ran a nice 40, 4.99, 90th percentile. 173 10-yard splits, really good for an interior lineman as well. 34-inch vert and 9'6" broad are insanely good. So if you're looking at this guy as a guard, he's incredibly athletic. But again, I just have to wonder, where does he end up landing at the NFL level? He's kind of tough to read here. A couple of the big boards have him in like the 6th or 7th round, and the Draft Network has him in the top 100. So again, we have a wide range here. The draft database has him in the 5th, which I kind of expect to happen. He did not have a very good year in 2023. His PFF grade was below 58. He allowed 17 hurries, and I think he missed several games. He didn't allow any sacks. He did allow 3 sacks the year TCU went to the national title game, along with 15 hits and 8. I'm sorry, hurries. This last thing here should be hurries. There we go. But it did seem like he slipped a little bit as a player. So let's peel back the onion here on Coleman. He was a team captain for the Horned Frogs, so leadership is definitely here. He might be able to make it at tackle and guard. Like the best case scenario is you have a guy who can play left tackle, and left guard, maybe even a little bit of right guard. So the utility value is certainly here. His testing numbers were really impressive. I mean, this is one of the best results of anybody who tested at the combine. He's got great technique as a pass protector, great understanding of how to maintain his balance, great understanding of how to stay in front of rushers, and great understanding of how to use his hands. He's capable of zone scheme blocking in space. He showed that at TCU. And the testing scores honestly indicate he might even be better at it if you get him with the right coaching. And he's a cerebral player with his understanding of how to pick up stunts and twists and blitzes. So, Coleman, a lot of great stuff here. The issues are, right now, he looks a lot more comfortable at tackle. Excuse me. And again, I just wonder, does he have what it takes to make it at tackle in the NFL? Like, the arm length is more or less there. The quickness is more or less there. But everybody was expecting Coleman to move to guard when he got to the NFL. And with the information that we have now, it kind of seems like maybe he won't. And that kind of throws off everyone's evaluations. He doesn't have a lot of strength to open holes in the run game, so he's definitely going to have to find a way to make it to a zone scheme where he doesn't have to be the mover. He struggles to keep up with more advanced pass rushers, like guys with a lot of tricks in their bag, guys who have a lot of pass rush moves and moves on top of moves are going to throw him for a loop a little bit, it seems like, which is one reason why I don't want him to be tackle, but it's looking like that may be the only possibility. He will have to improve his hand usage and hand placement when he's in run blocking sets. So he might be caught in the middle here, but he might not be. This is hard, right? He could be able to play all 3 positions, or he might not be able to play any of them. But there's real talent here. I like the agility he shows. There could be a lengthy development here, but 5th rounder, sign me up. He's talented enough for that. All right, one more guy here, and this one's actually really exciting. Mason McCormick of South Dakota State University. I think they're the Jackrabbits. 24 years old, 6'4", 309 pounds, almost 34-inch arms, 10-inch hands. So, pretty good measurables. 5'08", 40 is really good for an interior lineman. 171 10-yard split is crazy good. 35.5-inch vert, 9'9" broad. Guy tested off the charts. The dude is explosive as it gets. 7.59 3 cone's also really good. 4.45 20-yard shuttle is fantastic. 94th percentile. The guy was a machine at the combine, and so much so that PFF even has him in their top 100 at 91. ESPN and CBS have him in the 5th. The database has him about the 5th or 6th round. So, kind of a wide range. He's played really good football over the last 2 years for SDSU. Last year, 88 PFF grade almost. Has allowed a grand total of 2 sacks over the last 2 seasons and 8 hurries with 0 QB hits. And that's 2 mostly full seasons. He's played a lot of football. Played a ton of football. In fact, I don't think he's missed a game his entire college career. So, SDSU team captain for 3 years, so he's definitely a leader. Excuse me. Almost never missed games in college, like I said. Knows how to finish a rep strong. If he wins the rep, he's going to drive that guy back. He's going to drive him into the ground. He's going to finish the job. He's very impressive with his testing numbers, like I said. Skilled in picking up stunts and blitzes. He's very cerebral with his understanding of how to handle more complex fronts. And he creates force when he's hitting in space. So this is a guy who, you get him in a zone-based scheme, and he's like pulling across the line of scrimmage or making a block down the field, he hits with force. He hits with some newtons. I do think that while he is a fast mover and an agile mover, there is a little bit of awkwardness to his game. There needs to be more smoothness to the way that he moves in order to maximize his potential as an NFL player. He needs to learn how to sink his hips, bend at the knees. Right now he plays standing straight up, which at the NFL, I mean, he's only 6'4", so that's good, but he's going to lose the leverage battle, and that's a killer in the NFL if you're standing straight up all the time. He's going to have to learn how to sink the hips. I will admit that his testing numbers don't always show up on the tape. I do think this guy's capable of being a great zone scheme fit, but at the end of the day, he needs to actually translate these movement skills to the field. It hasn't happened yet, and I think more complex pass rush moves are going to beat him. He struggles to deal with the guys who have a lot of tricks in their bag, and he is playing at SDSU, so it's lesser competition that he's facing most of the time. But I really like this guy. I think he's a very intriguing talent. He's got strength, he's got agility, he's got leadership, he's got aggressiveness. I like a lot of stuff about him. I think he's got to become a smoother athlete to excel, but with how hard this guy works and the kind of reputation that he has, I think he can do it. I think he can improve. There is going to be a learning curve, but any point on day 3, sign me up for Mason McCormick. Any point in day 3, bring him on maybe as a backup left guard behind whoever it is we end up getting as the starter, and develop him, man. Mason McCormick, there's all the talent in the world here. All right, that's it for this video. More left guards coming later. Let me know what you think about this crew. See you guys later. Go Hawks. I like what I see from this crop, and there should be a left guard out there for the Seahawks in this draft. It's better than the typical left guard draft in my estimation.